This is IAQ Radio, Indoor Air Quality Radio, the voice of the indoor air quality industry, with your hosts, Radio Joe Hughes and the Z-Man, Cliff Zlotnick. And now, Radio Joe Hughes.
Good day and welcome to IAQ Radio Plus episode 673. This week, we welcome back Ruth Ann Norton of the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. We're going to talk a little bit about some current events and also take a look at what a successful organization looks like. But before we get started, let's thank our sponsors. They're the reason we can continue doing the show. Don't forget, after the show, we can continue the discussion at Afterthoughts at IAQradio.com, sponsored by First On Site. Our marquee sponsor is First On Site at firstonsite.com. Our association sponsors are the American Conference of Governmental Industrial Hygienists, ACGIH.org, the American Industrial Hygiene Association, AIHA.org, the Cleaning Industry Research Institute, CIRI Science.org, the Institute for Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification, IICRC.org. Industry sponsors are AEML Laboratories, AEMLINC.com, Particles Plus, ParticlesPlus.com, TSI Inc., TSI.com, Sunbelt Rentals, SunbeltRentals.com, April Air, April, AIRE.com, Healthy Indoors Magazine, HealthyIndoors.com.
And now you can win a cool prize. It's time for the IAQ Radio Trivia question. Be the first to correctly answer. Simply email your answer to czlotnick@cs.com. Or if listening live, just text your answer from your computer. And now, here's the Z-Man.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to report that Don Weeks from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, was first to identify roll-up strategy as the term for the business strategy of acquiring and merging multiple smaller companies within the same industry and combining them into a large entity. The IQ Radio Trivia question for today, August 26, 2022, has been sponsored by TSI Inc., an industry leader in the precision instrumentation of monitoring indoor air. Learn how to expand your IAQ investigations at tsi.com. Here's today's IAQ Radio Trivia question. What was the original name of the Green Healthy Homes Initiative? Back to you, Joe.
All right. Thank you, Cliff. And welcome back, Ruth Ann. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Sorry about the mute. I bet I can answer that question.
I'll bet you can too.
Having some trouble with audio here today, but I'm back. All right. So it's been since May of 2015. We had you on, and a few other folks. Actually, Larry Zarker was on, another member of your group, to talk about the National Environmental Leadership Award in Asthma Management. Mark Kravitz of your group and Larry Zarker were on. Let's start with a review of who your group is and what the goals are.
Well, so we are an organization founded in 1986. I won't say our name, right? But our original focus was to look at the toxic legacy of lead in Baltimore City, and we built out a very strong and probably national leading program over a course of a number of years, and we've reduced lead poisoning by 99%. Returning back to the state of Maryland over $44.5 billion in economic return. But over those 30 years of our work, we expanded the work to include indoor air quality and asthma reduction. And today we align climate, healthy housing, and health to address social determinants of health, opportunity, and equity. In short, we are looking to change housing condition for our low wealth communities to ensure that we reduce the incidence of asthma, respiratory disease, COPD, and other health impacts like lead poisoning, injury, and the like by just simply doing health-based housing repair. And what we are really known for today is how do we turn that work into also quantifiable results for the healthcare industry, for utilities, and improve government services to ensure that we capture all of these dollars that are now out there around energy efficiency, around climate, to improve the health and the indoor air quality of homes for every family in America.
You know, I called this show "What Success Looks Like" because it seems like, you know, your goal has been and continues to be to collaborate with others to help get these programs up and running. Can you talk a little bit about that collaboration and who some of the partners are to help you meet these missions?
Sure. I mean, we have over well over 1,000 partners that we work with, you know, so it's but that includes governors and mayors, nonprofits like Habitat for Humanity and Rebuilding Together, big healthcare entities like the University of Pennsylvania Health System, through Lancaster General Health, ProMedica, Molina, United, Amerigroup, utilities like Exelon, like Consumers Energy, Detroit Energy, and others. And then foundations who are really leading the work on the intersection of the environment and housing, like the JPB Foundation, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the Gilbert Family Foundation in Detroit. We have launched a major program with them. Entities like ProMedica, the healthcare operation out of Ohio, but we also are working with and for the states of Wisconsin, Ohio, Maryland, Rhode Island, Michigan, and across the country. And then we work in alignment as well with HUD, with the Department of Energy, with the Health and Human Services, with CDC, and the EPA, where I proudly serve on the EPA's Children's Health Advisory Protection Council. So it takes a lot of people and a lot of players from ground up. We are really focused on what happens in the home, and we're just always at bat trying to get as many resources in an aligned way to take some common sense and evidence-based measures to improve the health of housing as a linchpin for the quality of life and social determinants of health, and just people's health and well-being in general.
So, you know, it seems like, first of all, how big is your organization? I don't think it's a huge organization, is it? It's more of a collaborative thing.
We're about 50 people. We punch seriously above our weight. And that's because we believe in collaboration. We believe in really authentic, longstanding, and effective partnerships. And we don't need to recreate amazing resources that exist in every community, right? So our partnerships, last week we had the Building Performance Association. We have a partnership with BPI as well, all of whom have thousands of members around work. We work with contractors throughout the country. There are fantastic community development corporations and organizations, as I said, like Habitat and others, who are doing really important work. And whether it's Action Housing in Pittsburgh, or the PEA, Philadelphia Energy Authority in Philadelphia, or GHHI here in Baltimore, we are trying to really lift what exists in the community, tie it together to more effective ways. We can create healthier housing, have better ventilation, have better indoor air quality. And that includes addressing the entire structure. Our focus is both resident health. That's why our deep partnerships with healthcare like Johns Hopkins here in our own city and across the nation. And it's why we're doing indoor air quality work with Molina Health and the New York City Health Department, and groups like Association AEA up in New York, and Air NYC in New York. It's a collaboration what we hope to always do is be the catalyst around standards, practices, and effective ways to achieve optimal outcomes.
So of your 50 people, how many are in the Baltimore area and how many are in other areas?
Good question. It's about 50-50.
Okay. And where are your other main hubs?
Memphis, Providence, Jackson, Mississippi. But we have employees in Philadelphia, in Kansas City, in Santa Monica, California, in Maine, across the nation. So we are really, we have a big project that we've lifted in North Carolina. We have employees in Delaware. So we are helping a great deal across the country. We will be adding staff in Detroit and in Milwaukee, and we have really big projects being lifted in Milwaukee and the state of New Jersey. We also have staff in New Jersey, and we're going to be lifting on behalf of the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities a pilot project to demonstrate what a whole house strategy that looks at climate dollars, which include weatherization, energy efficiency, cool roofs, decarbonization, as well as health measures there. So we're working in areas of high need. Our project with ProMedica, out of our partnership there, is in 7 cities across the country: Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Toledo, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore. And we're doing, I think, just simply amazing work as well in Memphis. But we are partnered up in Oakland and in California, where I head next week.
What Medica? You mentioned them. I'm familiar with them. Is that a healthcare organization, or?
They're a healthcare organization in Ohio, but we also work with Molina, as I said, Amerigroup, United, Blue Cross, just a number of Johns Hopkins, a number of health entities across the country. In that particular 7-unit project, they are putting in money into each of those 7 cities as a base, and then we're raising additional monies from really important philanthropy, healthcare, and government.
When we were preparing for the show, I sent you a question. And, it seemed that holistic approach would be a tough sell for people in the industry. I see it working well for you when you're working with, government agencies, foundations, large healthcare organizations, etc. But where I see problem is with the small consulting groups out there doing things like mold inspection and indoor air quality. And I think it's a harder sell for them to do the holistic approach as opposed to just tackling one issue, like I've got a lead inspection.
Yeah.
But
Certainly.
tell us how you did it and how you would suggest those who aren't in that public sector would be able to maybe better sell that holistic approach as opposed to the piecemeal approach.
Well, first of all, they ought to find the consortium or the collaborative in their community that is working under an aligned grade coordinate process. Given just where we are on the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, the American Recovery Program, those federal dollars alone, along with general federal budgets, state dollars, government dollars, there's a lot of money coming in that we don't want to deliver in a scattered or fractured manner, right? So in almost every city, there is an effort to do this alignment, which I think is massive opportunity if you're in the indoor air quality world on the inspection or the home performance, to be a contractor as part of that. What is growing is that comprehensive assessment that is done, that when you may be going in to do an assessment on indoor air quality, to at least have general categories where you can refer or be a part of an approach that might address chipping lead paint or mold or broken stair treads or leaky roofs. The consortium of that work together in partnership with those in the building performance or indoor air quality, it's really a part of a collaboration. The contractors often doing the work are increasingly cross-trained to do this work. So to be a weatherization energy efficiency contractor who can also do the lead paint work, who can do ventilation work, and having those contractors who can do that cross-sector work in a way are benefiting because they can manage the whole project as we look at it. But even when we are kind of looking at the whole project, there are subs on those projects and opportunities to do that. So I think being in the vernacular, understanding sort of the picture of the whole health of a house and being able to collaborate, we would welcome anybody listening to this to contact us, and we will try to connect them to what may be happening in their region or city or area. And we are also encouraging contractors in this work to look at opportunities to hire from historically disinvested communities, provide job opportunities and workforce opportunities. And there's lots of supportive dollars to do that and to help to grow an industry as a part of this.
I think that's a great point. I just happened to run across, I met the director of the local weatherization program here in Somerset County. And Somerset County is a rural county. We're pretty poor county. And he can't find enough people to help him do these inspection, assessment, and remediation projects. So I think that's a great point. And it's something that those, in the private sector doing this type of work may want to consider hooking up with your group and or their local agency that's doing this type of work.
Yep, I'm looking at a comment that came in on the chat here also about contractors not being regulated in the state of Ohio. I'd love to connect with the questioner here and see what we can do together and really ensure that we have good standards and that they are being regulated. It's certainly important. The state of Ohio, for example, in that work has federal grants that require that regulation. So definitely, if we can help Doug out, please contact us at Doug at 410-534-6447. And certainly want to help there too. So sorry, Cliff, I just saw that and wanted to chime in. That'd be helpful.
No, that's great. Actually, I appreciate that. And Doug's a great guy, and I'm sure he will be in touch. I had a follow-up to do you think with all the new programs that are coming out, there will be more enforcement? I mean, his issue was there wasn't enough enforcement to get contractors to come to the training and do things right. Will we see more enforcement now with all this money being put into the Infrastructure Act and other acts?
Well, I think that I have a concern on that in this way. Cities, counties, and states are going to be a bit overwhelmed, I think, by the amount of money coming. They're trying to build the infrastructure to raise the capacity. The only way to do it right, that is sustainable, is to have good standards, right? We have to follow evidence, we have to follow science, we have to follow standards to have it be sustainable and have it be truly healthy for people. We are going to be concentrating on that in the areas that we're working. A great lesson from our work in lead here in Baltimore was that the thing that made the biggest movement in our reduction on lead poisoning, it was important to have the money. But what really got people moving was that the standards set out, which are the strictest standards in the country, were going to be enforced by the state, by the city of Baltimore and others. And that enforcement standard and following through on the enforcement standard moved the market of the 99%, we can attest to about 45 or 50% of the market moved solely because of the enforcement work. And but I think standards are really important as we train up new contractors. It's important for communities. And on all of the work we do, the communities with the best standards have the highest reinvestment in their low wealth communities, whether they're urban or rural, as well as their middle market communities. So standards matter. They matter, and they also matter for health protection of the contract.
I want to get into the Inflation Reduction Act and the webinar you did recently. But before we do, John, pull up the GHII website. And you're talking a lot about standards. I'm sorry, GHHI, sorry.
That's okay.
You are talking a lot about standards. And when I was going through the website in preparation for the show, I saw a link on there to what I think are some of an example of what you're talking about. It was under the, it was the technical assistance. Yeah, I think it was the.
Go down, technical assistance, go down there. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. We need to do an update on our site from June. And so I see that. So thanks for.
There's the technical assistance, but there's a section on here where you'd have to email in to get the protocol for certain activities.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is work product, obviously, and we do a lot of work product for cities, states, and nonprofit organizations around the country, and so we customize that depending on what is existent. But in all of our communities, we're looking at the asset and gaps that exist. We're looking at the standards. We're making recommendations accordingly. We did do, I think that is on the site somewhere, happy to share with your listeners, a whole standard called M-Home that we did and built for the EPA under around asthma reduction standards. We are really building things that are around the health outcome side, and then we utilize obviously best practices in industries like IAQ or lead or decarbonization or the like. And then we help communities be able to use those standards and look at how do they fund it, how do they build the workforce capacity and infrastructure. So we're kind of looking at the larger framework on that, and we employ a lot of kind of consultancy experts as well as our own work to look at health savings calculations and research for sure.
John, can you pull that site back up and go to the Healthy Homes tab, if you would? I've got a question. Healthy Homes. There we go. Healthy Homes. And then steps to protect your family or ask the experts. Go to the Ask the Experts. That's a very good section I saw. And this is a lot of great question and answer type stuff for people that are, interested in, like, is radon a concern? How can I test my home, etc. I assume you're collaborating with other people to help you answer these questions.
We are, and what I'd love to say to your industry and your listeners is that if they see something that they think there's a better update, or where they can help, or they can serve as a good advisor or consultant in some of this work, please reach out to us. We're looking for best practices always for the communities that we serve. We're looking at the broad impacts of environmental health factors and other factors in housing that can impair or improve health. And our goal is that we are creating practices within communities that where people live actually gives them a good launching pad for their lives. We're getting ready to update what is widely known as the 8 elements of healthy housing. We're going to 10 because we're going to be including some work around decarbonization, which has a lot to do with indoor air quality and a lot to do with neurological health, as well as electrification. As we think about that work, we're looking at people moving from gas heat over to other alternatives. And so we are a always learning organization. We will vet the suggestions and recommendations for best practices, certainly. But we're a collaborator, and we want to help, and also help people who in the indoor air quality work that are doing good things, and lift up that work so that communities know what's available to them.
I know that essentials of healthy housing. At one time there were 7, now there's 8, or now there's 10. Okay,
There's soon to be 10. We're gonna
soon to be 10.
launch that in October as part of environmental health. Children's environmental health, and during National Lead Week.
I always love that approach of looking at, in this case, residential buildings, those essentials. That the ones I followed came from the National Center for Healthy Housing. Are you working closely with them as well?
We don't work with them on a day-to-day basis, but we're collaborators in the space. They do a lot of research evaluation work. We are much more on the research, implementation, and evaluation work. We actually run implementation programs, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, here in Baltimore, and Memphis, and other places. We've just launched a big thing. We are just different animals, if you will. GHHI is a bit larger, with a little bit larger reach. The work of NCHH has been invaluable, obviously, and continues to be as part of the industry.
I noticed you say now 50 people. It seems like that has changed. Like we had you on in 2015. I'm just wondering, ballpark idea, how many people do you have then?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question without going back and looking at the number, but I would say that we were probably 30.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't realize at the time. So you've had great success in getting
our goal isn't to add more people. Our goal is to add more effectiveness, right? So we try to do most of our work by helping others build their capacity, helping others be more effective, and bringing kind of collaboratives together. I would say that where we are on our projections is we may likely be 60 people over the next 2 years. But that's not our primary goal, is to grow the number of people we employ, but to employ resources well in communities. Our goal is to get the maximum amount of resources into the homes of individuals of need, so we improve their health. And we judge our own work and our own selves by that lens, is the value add and impact.
I hear all the time from people, contractors, consultants, it's tough to get people. You obviously are adding people on a regular basis. Any tips for our audience on the best way to find these people that are interested in this type of work?
A lot of shoe leather, a lot of it's networks, it's relationships, it's reputation, right? Help a lot. I would say that the year prior to this, coming out of COVID, what a weird employment market, right? And we had everything from the 20-year-olds who believe they are ready to make $1 million a year, and God love them if they can get it. And those who are with great experience being so sought after, right? That kind of getting the mix of the market. I think the market has settled down on employment, and really, we have really looked at how do we ensure that we're giving work opportunities into low wealth communities across the country, both urban and rural, that we are really lifting up talent, building new pipeline. So much like my beloved Baltimore Orioles, the farm system, I had to get that in, right? And get my Because when I moved to Baltimore in 1983, we won the World Series, and I thought this is going to be great, and we haven't won it since then. So
Yeah.
we've had some up and down years. We've been in the playoffs a number of times in the 80s, 90s, and 2000. But we're rebuilding, but we have a really fun squad this year, so it's kind of fun. I was just up at the Pittsburgh Stadium. What a pretty stadium that is.
Beautiful.
Have a great friend who works at the Dodgers and has really ignited my interest in baseball. But it's fun to always root for the hometown team, right?
Well, you moved to Baltimore. Where did you move from? Where are you from? Where are your roots?
Born in Brooklyn, New York, from an Irish Catholic father and a Southern Baptist mother.
Wow.
I was raised mainly in Raleigh, North Carolina. Went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, go Heels. Spent a couple of years overseas in Paris and moved from Paris to Baltimore.
Interesting. All right, we've got to stop for halftime. Thank our sponsors. When we come back, I'm going to ask Ruth Ann if she can give us kind of the cliff notes on the recent webinar they did on the Inflation Reduction Act, I believe is what they're calling it. Interesting name, but we can talk about that when we get back. Our marquee sponsor is First On Site, your trusted full-service disaster recovery and property restoration company at firstonsite.com. Association sponsors are ACGIH, advancing careers of professionals in environmental health, industrial hygiene, and safety, interested in defining their science. ACGIH.org. AIHA, healthy workplaces, a healthier world. AIHA.org. The Cleaning Industry Research Institute. See more deeply through science and research. CIRI science.org. The IICRC, a nonprofit standards development and certifying body for the cleaning and restoration industry, IICRC.org. Industry sponsors are AEML Laboratories, free shipping, great pricing, same-day results with no rush fee, AEMLinc.com. Particles Plus, feature-rich particle counters and air quality instrumentation. Count on us. ParticlesPlus.com. TSI Inc., an industry leader in precision instrumentation for monitoring indoor air. Learn how to expand your IAQ investigations. TSI.com. Sunbelt Rentals, availability, reliability, and ease for all your IAQ and restoration needs at sunbeltrentals.com. April Air, healthy home, April, AIRE.com. And Healthy Indoors Magazine, a free online magazine for industry professionals and consumers, healthyindoors.com. All right, we're back with Ruth Ann Norton, President and CEO of the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. Ruth Ann, your group recently did a webinar about the housing and energy investments in the Inflation Reduction Act. I wonder if you could give our listeners a quick overview of what you think are the important parts of that act for those in our industry.
Yeah, let me just say that I was also very pleased that my own Senator Chris Van Hollen in that wrote the Hope for Homes Act, which I think is so critical in this work. But in the $369 billion of investments that will be made in climate and energy, there's $9 billion that's in home energy rebate programs that will help people electrify their appliances in their homes and for energy efficiency retrofits, has a focus on low-income consumers. In the $4.3 billion for the Hope for Homes Act, it offers valuable rebates for home energy retrofits for low-income households. And in addition, the bill includes expanded consumer tax credits to provide greater access to clean energy, providing incentives for rooftop solar, energy storage systems, and other clean technology. And there are bonus tax incentives are provided to develop clean energy resources in low-income communities, actually getting the manufacturing in low-wealth communities and areas to experience a transition away from fossil fuels. So a lot of this is moving to that clean energy. There's $1 billion for HUD-led grant programs that will improve energy and water efficiency in affordable housing, and $60 billion that'll go through EPA for environmental justice with a variety of investments for communities disproportionately impacted by pollution and climate change. And that includes $3 billion in environmental and climate justice block grants, similar to what community development block grant kind of thinking, to address disproportionate environmental and public health, pollution and climate change in our Black, brown, and low income and low wealth communities. And then the last 2 points really I would raise is the billion that's there to incentivize states and municipalities to adopt themselves more energy efficient codes, and $27 billion to establish for the first time a national green bank that will capitalize the deployment of emission reducing technologies, particularly in disadvantaged communities, and billions more around job development, bolstering our ability to do something that we think is critically important for indoor air quality and for health, and that is to decarbonize housing. We're working also, and not only through our work that we did on the Inflation Reduction Act on decarbonization, electrification, and environmental justice, we're working to get Medicaid and healthcare entities to understand that investments in climate-driven measures in the home that improve indoor air quality, improve respiratory health, really should be part of their investments on social determinants of health and for asthma reduction for certain. But indoor air quality goes so much further. It has impacts on cardiac health. It has impact on brain function. So these are important things that we are pushing upstream to say why we need to do these investments. So I think this is an important time to see how we can get these resources out to communities, including Southwest Ohio and other parts of the country that don't normally see an influx of large dollars, build the right infrastructure. And there is a real challenge to deploy the workforce. And so it is a challenge and an opportunity for us to really employ underemployed individuals, underskilled individuals, to upskill them, to bring them into industries like IAQ and health-based housing that are sustainable careers beyond government investment and insertion of capital there.
It sounds like a big part of this is going to be training people. Do we have the training facilities, instructors in place that can handle this large influx of money and students to do this training?
Well, I think there's twofold, right? We've got to get people interested in the industry, and we've got to be doing good recruitment efforts, and we have to be strengthening the training network. And the training networks need to be able to reach people and be able to have enough traction, right, in communities that we can do that. But one of the things that's also going to happen here is there's going to be money to be able at the work at scale means that contractors can depend on a larger amount of homes, right? That they can do this work in, a larger client base. So it's going to take all sides of this, recruiting the client base who want to receive the services, training people to expand the industry in the right way, in the right facilities, the right training, and then efficiently getting those dollars. So this is a big job that cannot be one czar in Washington and one czar per state. This is local dollars. All of this work happens in local communities. It doesn't happen in the halls of Congress or the state houses. It happens in people's homes and in buildings. And we have to be thinking about the infrastructure there. Don't have the answer except to say that I think that we will require a broader distribution of training centers, more support for training centers, because you cannot do credible workforce development without really credible training. And then once trained, sort of supported networks to continue to apprentice new workers in their workplace.
Has there ever been this big of an investment in indoor environmental quality and decarbonization in the past?
Never. Not even.
How long will this money last? Is it a one-shot thing, and over the next 2 or 3 years we've got to get this done, or are they looking at this more of a long-term?
Well, if you take this, the American Recovery Program that governors have and mayors have their fingers on and are doing the work to get it out to their communities and their priorities, and the bipartisan, Infrastructure Act, those three behemoths, along with the federal budgets, state budgets, and private sector work, there has never been a time in our country at this dollar level. I think about the investments that Roosevelt made in different things. I think this dwarfs the American Recovery Act during the Obama administration, all important dollars moving forward. But for certainly for the work around decarbonization, which is such an opportunity to improve health and housing, never have we had this kind of level of sort of the startup dollars and the dollars to move this forward. This will roll out, in various tranches over the next decade. Part of the real work that we also need to do is to ensure that we have a sustainable way to keep people employed, keep moving the market, to continue doing the training and retraining as we roll along, and take lessons from the American Recovery Act, about how to sustain work that matters. And some of it will likely at the end of the decade, if we reach our goals on emissions, reduction, then we will have new things to be taking on. I saw that in the last few days, California has said after 2035, they will not allow the sale of a combustion engine car, a gas fueled car. So changes are happening, and that's rapid speed for that kind of change. And changes are happening rapidly in some of the cities across the country, like New York and others, who have said you cannot build a building anymore fueled by gas. That's a game changer. It's an industry changer. Markets, whether or not people support or oppose this, once adopted, the markets start to shift, right? And so we're going to see a lot of market shift, and there will be a lot of need on measurement and evaluation of the work being done.
I wonder, there's going to be a lot of investment in mechanical systems, essentially, heat pumps, which are electric, and heat pump water heaters and things like that. Do you work with anyone in the HVAC industry? Are there any groups you're working with? Are they excited about this? Are they worried about it?
I think they're adapting. Like car companies, they're adapting. They're moving. They're moving this forward. And there's a lot of groups that have come up, like Power, that are working to. They call it turning buildings into Tesla, basically, or something along that line. A really powerful, smart guy, but Donnell Baird. But there's groups around the country, Energy Solutions in California and others, that are working on this. RMI, just an amazing and stellar, formerly known as the Rocky Mountain Institute, just stellar in their work, the Building Decarbonization Group organization. Even states like agencies like NYSERDA are working to move forward this technology. In the Inflation Reduction Act, there's money for the production of these appliances in the change out of residential mechanicals. So lots are being done to do that, and lots are being done to ramp the production. In our project, we look to do thousands of units over the next couple of years, next several years, 2-3 years, to move people off of this. And we've got real important excitement around the health side, and we are going to be paying special attention to the economic side, ensuring there's just money that just came out of DOE to ensure that very low income individuals who move from gas to electric won't be hurt economically as the markets shift. Once you remove a market, then the electric market will settle out. But if just where we are today, you could electrify a home and it could actually cost somebody more on their monthly bill. So as we move to a different way of those markets happening, right, we have to build in the safeguards that help us make that market transformation.
You mentioned earlier,
as well as health at play here. Yep. I'm glad to see we got your picture back.
Yeah, I'm back. I hope it will stay. It was a podcast for a while there, but anyway, you mentioned earlier Medicare, Medicaid, healthcare groups. Maybe I've been hearing for 10 years they were going to start helping to pay for some of this indoor environmental quality work.
That's happening.
Is it happening? How is that coming along?
It's definitely happening. Healthcare investments in healthy housing and indoor air quality. I can tell you just one example. Molina Healthcare is partnered with GHHI and Northern Trust and the JPB Foundation in the city of New York. And we are doing indoor air quality work and improving indoor air quality. And the entire cost of that work is being paid back solely out of Medicaid savings.
Interesting. John, let's go to the roundup. The roundup is brought to you by April Air, providing healthy humidity, ventilation, and air purity solutions for new and existing homes. April Air, healthy air, healthy home at aprilaire.com. All right, I remember now what section on the website I wanted to look at, and it was the Healthy Homes Toolkit. John, can you maybe go on there and go back to the website and pull up that Healthy Homes Toolkit? I can't remember which tab it was under. That's it. Yeah. Scroll down.
This was our virtual. Just so you know, what this is that during COVID, we migrated and pivoted very, very quickly. How do we help people during COVID where on-site in-home inspections were not able to happen? And that we would send in for home repair, highly protected workers. But all of the intake, the pre-assessment and the initial assessment was done virtually. And that's what this is what this toolkit is. I
see. And I assume it's based on your in the field toolkit as well. I mean, to some degree.
Yes, it's based, it was a modification, obviously, because we could not run blower doors, test ventilation systems, test temperature, do lead testing. But it was a takeoff of our comprehensive assessment. It was actually adopted by 144 agencies very quickly, including states like Connecticut and others, to be used. And then it helped us to prioritize, obviously, during that time, the highest needs. We were deeply concerned, especially about our older adults, on extreme heat and extreme cold, making sure that we were not leaving people at greater risk because they were spending their entire time at home. We learned a few things about it. We now do our first introduction meeting before we show up at a house virtually where we can. So people can meet us, they can get to know us, they can trust us and know who's going to be knocking on their door. So there's something very beneficial to the things that we learned during COVID.
And where would you find more about the assessment process? I mean,
the comprehensive assessment is under our services, but we do that through training. And through our trainings, we train on the comprehensive assessment tool that's used by the state of Maryland. It's used by a number of our projects throughout the country. A version of it is being used in Detroit, along with a really nifty system called Pronto that's been developed in partnership with the good minds from Rocket Community Foundation, Detroit Energy, City of Detroit Housing, and others. But if anybody has an interest in our comprehensive assessment, they can email us and we can go through that.
that's what I was looking for, and I will do that.
It is somewhere on our website. I'm not an expert in the website, but if people want to ask for it, it was developed between GHHI, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, EPA, CDC, and others. And it has been evolved from that. So it is a well-vetted instrument, but it is looking at a broad set of energy and health impacts in the housing.
That sounds like something we want to put a link to in the blog, Cliff. Cliff, do you have any follow-ups or questions to add?
I do actually. I really have a concern, and I think the United States for many years has followed what countries in Europe have done, particularly in Scandinavia, et cetera. And, I think there's going to be a huge change by adopting this. We're now going to be the world leader in this, and we'll be doing more than anyone else is. And my big concern is I'm not sure that it's going to really make a significant difference to climate, et cetera, if just the United States does it and other countries don't do it, like China and so on and so forth. And furthermore, I'm worried about the cost of doing it. Where is all this money going to come from? And, certainly I don't believe it's going to come from taxes. It seems like it's going to come from, we're going to print more and more money. And I'm just really worried about the impact it's going to have on the economy.
Well, you've now taken us into the Federal Reserve and economics and a number of things, right? And I am a trained economist in my college at graduate days, but I'm probably not an expert at that, except for to say that the attempt in the Inflation Reduction Act was to be relatively budget neutral by increasing corporate taxes to a minimum of 15%, so that I think the goal there, right, as I understand it, right, in a nonpartisan, non-political way, is to say that the Amazons of the world need to pitch in, pay their fair taxes. I do think the money, I look at this as not venture capital per se, but important infrastructure investments that the government has made in many things over the course of time in new areas of development, that the government's going first in order to spur the private economy. I think there's a myriad of examples of that through the course of history, including the computer and tech world and pharma and other things. Not that I think they're all doing things the best way, Cliff, right? But I do think it's necessary from a standpoint of the environment and for public health for us to make massive efforts to do this. I think everybody has an opinion on climate change, or there's certainly camps on that. It will make a difference. These monies will make a difference in the housing standard and I think the indoor air quality of residential housing and buildings. What it will do for the environment writ large, I think you can ask better experts than me on that. But from an infrastructure point of view in our buildings, whether they're residential, commercial, institutional, or otherwise, there is no doubt in my mind that this is significant, critically important to make up for decades of disinvestment and lack of investment. And, we've got lots of infrastructure in this country that we let lay to waste beyond this: bridges, airports, hospital facilities. We just did not we did not have a mentality of essential maintenance practices in general around our how we fund, right? I'm a believer that we ought to fund things and be tracking outcomes and really incentivize outcomes that we need to have. We've got to be more routinized in how we think about standards and practices. And I also believe in the private sector that we need to use evidence and science to establish standards, and we need to enforce those things. And if we do those things, we actually over time need less of these massive big investments. But we're now, by putting things off, we'll end up with these big things, right? I would very much wish that we could go back 50, 60 years and be much more thoughtful about what do we need to do as a routine base. And those things that are routine, necessary, and important, whether it's indoor air quality, whether it's bridges, right, or whatever, that we know need to be done, that should come out of a political bailiwick and should be in essential things that we do as a society.
I just want to, one other minor thing is that, unfortunately, we don't have the raw materials. We don't have the capabilities in the United States to have what's needed to make solar panels. We have to rely on China in order to get the materials and so on and so forth in order to do it. And I think that strategically, this is a challenge. We have issues with China. I think economically, we also have issues with them militarily. And I don't know.
You know what?
Right.
I got a hard stop at 1:00 for Ruth Ann. I'm sorry, but I think it's a good point, something we'll have to discuss as time goes on. Ruth Ann, before we go, is there anything you'd like to add, anything we missed, or maybe you want to talk about maybe what the future of green and healthy?
I'll tell you, number one, I want to have make sure that we have your followers and listeners join us this coming April at our Executive Leadership Institute, where we talk about best practices. I want to encourage people, take a look at our website, make suggestions on things that we think would be good. Contact us if you're interested in working across the country in some of these initiatives. And always enjoy hearing from people, learning. And if people want to set up some time and talk with us, please do that. 410-534-6447. And I promise you, we've got a lot of really good and talented people here. So beyond me, who can get down in the weeds on all of the good stuff around the industry. I just so much appreciate being back with you. I hope it isn't 7 years till the next time.
I was going to say the same thing.
Try to make it sooner. And if anybody's in Baltimore, please come see us at our headquarters here. And go Orioles.
Thank you so much, Ruth Ann Norton. That was wonderful. The president and CEO, I believe I have that right, of the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. This is Radio Joe Hughes saying thanks to this week's guest, to my co-host, the Z-Man, Cliff Zlotnick, to our engineer, John. You got to have faith at the controls. Most importantly, our growing group of audience and sponsors. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We're going to take off Labor Day. Everybody, please enjoy Labor Day. And we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of IAQ Radio Plus.
For IAQ Radio, I'm Spike Reel saying thanks for listening.